In this video, we're going to look at how to find the standard deviation for a simple list of numbers. So just to remind you, standard deviation is a value which tells you how far your numbers are spread apart from the mean. Now, we have a formula for that, and it is that the standard deviation of our numbers is equal to the square root of, and I'll go over what each of these things mean in just a second. Now, of course, many of you know that you can use your TI-84 to do this instantly, but just in case you don't have a TI-84 handy, I just want to show you that it's still possible. Okay, so in our formula, this symbol, as you may know, means the summation sign. It's the summation sign. So when you see that symbol, it just means you need to find the sum of whatever comes afterwards. And x, oops, let's put that back. X is just a list of numbers, each and every x value that you're given. So x stands for all the values that you're given. But the x with the line over it, which I also called x bar, is our mean, or average of our numbers. And n is the number of values. Alright, so now that we see what each thing means, I'm going to just go ahead and say this. Whenever I see a formula with the summation sign, I always find it easier to set up a table so I can visualize everything that I'm going to have to find the sum of. So I'm going to set up a table, and in my table, the first column will be my x values. And by x values, I mean the numbers that I was given. So 6, 12, 15, 17, and 25. Now, if you take a look at the formula, you'll notice that we're going to have to figure out a bunch of times what x minus the average of x is, which means the next column in my table will be exactly that, x minus the average of x. Again, if you take a look at the formula, we see that we're going to have to square that a bunch of times. So that will be my last column, x minus the average of x squared. Great. Now that we have our table set up, we can continue by finding first the average of x, since we're going to need to use it. Okay, so when we add up all the numbers and we divide by the number of numbers, we get that the average, also known as x bar, is equal to 15. So now that we know that x bar, our mean, is 15, we can go through and subtract 15 from each of our x values. So here we're going to do 6 minus 15, and we get that 6 minus 15 is negative 9. 12 minus 15, and we get that that's negative 3. 15 minus 15 is 0. 17 minus 15 is 2. And 25 minus 15 is 10. Now that we have that column done, we can square each of our values because that's what comes next. Alright, so negative 9 squared is 81. Be very careful because if you type it into the calculator as negative 9 squared, your calculator may interpret it as negative, pause, 9 squared, which is negative 81, which is not correct. The square of any number, regardless of if it's negative or positive, is positive. So positive 81, positive 9, 0, 4, and 100. Now, according to our formula, we're going to have to find the sum of the values that we just calculated. So the sum of x minus x bar squared is what will go at the top of that fraction. When we find the sum of those numbers, we get 194. So we're almost there. According to our formula, we now have to divide by the number of values. So there are 5 values, and we're going to divide by 5 and find the square root. So when we finish dividing by 5 and finding the square root of that number, our answer should be 6.23, approximately 6.23. And in this case, that is our standard deviation.